Code of conduct.
Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. God made me punch in accurate numbers. My castle won't crumble. What I tackle will fumble. I've been a leader when they ain't see it, but now my feet is up. According to me, royalty didn't end with King Tut. Crown on my head, clouds is at my legs. Big said sky is the limit. I look down on the ledge. I push the bar like I'm opening a cell. Hands in my cookie jar, you won't come out with a single nail. I need all of mine. The weight of my shoulders won't fit on a scale. What's a king to a giant? Well, Goliath fell. Even if we playin' chess, dog, this king can't be checked. I make all my moves on the board, I invented my steps. I'm a king, the blood of a ruler, I feel like Mansa Musa. Make your squad disappear like landing by the Bermuda. Triangle, look at it from my angle. I'm a king, the closest thing to being one of God's angels. I'm a king. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I put in extra work that just can't be found. I took the sword out the stone, wasn't a thing. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king. Look me in my eyes cause I'm a king.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Code of Conduct, the King podcast. I am your host, JSpenceTheKing, and I am excited to be back for the third time. And I'm saying that because it actually means that I just celebrated, the Code of Conduct just celebrated its third anniversary of being in existence, which is crazy to me because I didn't even want to do this. And so, so today's episode, I have my brother, I got my friend Joe Miller with me, and we're going to just kind of reminisce on it. We're going to talk about how it all got started, how we got here, and then we're going to talk some Buffalo Bills and get on out of here. But Joe, what's going on? It's been a while. You know, we did Hump Day one time since the season was over.
I think, yes, you were correct. I've been on a wonderful break. I've been on a brain relaxation, lay down and do nothing creatively break since the Bills. I basically have done in the last 4 months what the Bills did in that Cincinnati game. Nothing.
Oh, Joe.
I didn't Joe. Nothing.
I wasn't expecting you to say that. I'm like,
coming in hot, baby. Coming in hot.
I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but it's like, oh, that hurts so bad. That just hurt my feelings.
Hey, if I'm wrong, call me out.
No, it is what it is. You know what? And I think because that's part of it too. Like normally I try my hardest to go like from the end of the year, like right from the end of the season, I just stick with it and I try to go through, you know, I go through the spring and the summer and man, this year, I just don't know. I just felt so like blah about everything. And I don't know if it was because of the way the season ended. I don't know if it was because I don't know, but maybe that's kind of what it was for you too this year. Like, you know what? I'm just going to take a break because this is a lot.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, and I did. So, I mean, I knew going in I was going to take some time off, but yeah, it's gotten a little bit extended. I think other than 2 interviews, now this one is a third and 3 episodes with Fina. I haven't really done anything. So, and then the Fina episodes were around the draft. So, which I'm not a draftnik. Yeah. So, but yeah, for all intents and purposes, I have done a whole lot of nothing, but looking forward to kind of maybe getting back into the grind and trying to figure out what that schedule looks like. And I think we're all probably doing the same thing right now, which is looking for sponsors and trying to figure out how the shows are going to line up and what we're going to do and who's going to be here and who's not going to be here and yada, yada, yada. So I don't have a new job. I have a new role at my job, which I'm going to be traveling a lot more and have been traveling a lot more. The last 3 weeks, I have been in Atlanta for 3 days, Vegas for 5 days, Denver for 4 days, and I just got back from Toronto about 2 hours ago. So yeah, it's been
and Sterling told me you were out there in Denver. Actually, no, I saw pictures, and then he told me.
We had a blast.
Yeah, you've been everywhere, man. It seems like every time I look up and open up your Twitter, you're like somewhere else posting a picture with somebody, and I'm like, this guy is everywhere.
Yeah, it's a work thing. I'm traveling more right now than I wanted to when I took the job, but I'm not traveling in July at all, and then it should settle. It should be about twice a month is what my expectation is. So we'll see.
All right. Well, let's get into it. You actually just brought up something, and you're right. We are looking for sponsors for the season. So if anybody is looking to advertise their businesses, or if anybody knows anybody advertising their businesses, and they would like to dive into the podcast world and get with a network that last season did over 4.2 million downloads and
Wow.
streams,
Wow.
this is the place to come. Buffalo Rumblings for SB Nation. So hit us up. And speaking of that, we're going to jump right into it. But before we do, I'm going to get a word from my sponsor.
Nice.
Okay, here's the deal. I know as Bills fans, we wait all year for the fall and the winter so we can go to the Bills games. I get it. Trust me, I do. But let me tell you why this time of the year is elite. It's party time. And we're going to party for so many reasons, whether it's a graduation party, a birthday party, family reunion, or just because it's Saturday and the weather's perfect. Here's the thing. My guy, Buffalo Freddy, has everything you need to make your party the best party of the year. We have everything from chairs and tables to premium tents, water slides, wet and dry bounce houses, and so much more. And that's not all. The best barbecue catering in Western New York has you covered, whether it's a small party or a corporate gathering. Buffalo Freddy Barbecue Catering makes everything easy for you. Rentals and bookings available now at www.buffalofreddy.com, or you can call 716-4FREDDY. That's 716-437-3339. Remember, for all your party rental needs, just call 4Freddy.
Shout out Buffalo Freddy. Now, Joe, let's get right into it because I already feel like the way it's been a while, and the way we do Hump Day, a lot of times when we have things actually planned, we still go over. So I'm gonna try to prevent that as much as possible today.
Sure.
But like I said, so it's been 3 years, and so this is going technically into my 4th season, and this has been the 3rd year. And it's actually been kind of crazy because just the way everything played out. But let's talk a little bit about just like how it got started, because I tell this story, but I always give it from like my perspective. But you were the one that actually like reached out and was like, "Hey, man, you should come on my show." And I'm like, "Me?"
Yeah.
So let's talk about it a little bit and just go down memory lane for a second there.
Well, we were at Ebenezer Ale House. I remember that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I don't remember what I was eating. I may have been eating a Jamaican jerk chicken sandwich. That's probably what I had there because I love your Jamaican jerk chicken sandwich.
That's exactly what it was, because you was like, "You got to try this one."
Super good.
So
But yeah, but I don't know that was necessarily the reason that we were meeting. I think there was other reasons that we were meeting. I think the conversation just kind of rolled into, because I think I had just started, right? Had I been doing it a year yet? What year was that again?
That was late 19. And because I moved early 20. I moved March 2020.
That's right. So so I had just been doing it. I had just started doing it. And I think I may have been asking you for some advice too. I was like, "So what do you think?"
And the crazy part about it is, for me too, is, so I know obviously, we met there and we talked a little bit about it, but like it didn't even happen then. It kind of, so like I said, I moved in March of 2020, and President Trump at the time shut the country down March 15th when COVID hit.
Right.
And I remember, man, like it turned into me being so excited to move to Phoenix. Like I mean, everything about Phoenix, I was just excited for. I'm like, "Oh man, I'm doing everything." And the one thing I was still able to do was play golf, because obviously you could do that, but
not in this state, not in New York.
Nope, not in New York. You couldn't even social distance on a golf course, which is crazy.
It wasn't enough.
but so out here, I was still able to play golf, and I was still able to do certain things like that. But as far as like really getting out, getting to know people, do things, not happening. So I was like bored out my mind, and you hit me, and you're like, "Hey man," I feel like at the time you didn't have a topic or something, and you're like, just come on and let's just talk.
Well, we vibed well together, right? So I mean, anytime, you know how it is, you've been doing this a long time, you're always looking for somebody that the communication kind of flows seamlessly, right? I guess is the easiest way, and kind of flows easily. Not necessarily somebody that shares your viewpoints, even though you and I share a lot of viewpoints. It was just more about the fact that the conversation was easy. And for me, relationships that are easy are my favorite relationships. The ones that I have to like constantly be the person bringing it. "So how about the Knicks?" Right? "So How about that NASCAR? And I don't know anything about NASCAR. I'm just like, I'm trying to find something. I'm fishing because the other person on the other side is just kind of sitting there. So for me, it was just more about like, I think I was not fishing for topic. We wanted to do a roster breakdown, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or
Yep,
like,
yep.
yeah.
We
So
ended up doing a roster breakdown. Yeah.
yeah,
We had 2 shows.
and you pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, nailed a lot of it. I was like, holy crap! Like, isn't it the one where you picked Reggie Gilliam? And I was like, wait,
Yeah,
who's that guy?
was the year that's the year he made the roster. And I remember when I'm like, no, I'm telling you, Reggie Gilliam, and everybody in the comments were like, who the
Right.
heck is Reggie Gilliam?
Reggie, what? Yeah, one sledge, right? Isn't that his Twitter handle now?
Yep.
So yeah,
Mhm.
Reggie's a good dude too. So yeah, you nailed that one. You knocked that one out of the park. You're right more than you're wrong. I'll give you that. So I try not to take chances. I don't know if you would consider it even taking chances at this point. 90% of the time, you just nail it. It's like bang, Spence is on it.
Well, I tell you what, if you want to make another bet, because I
No,
don't make many bets.
That's way down on the list. That's way
No,
down on the list.
but you said it. So you were, and I know we didn't bet on the roster, but the thing is, like, I don't make bets unless I really feel super. And again, I know. So what Joe's talking about when he said it's down the list, we have a short list of topics, and on there, a couple years back when we did Hump Day Live, where were we at? We were was that Magruder's?
O'Neill's. I had to pay off the bet at O'Neill's, but we made the bet on the show on a Hump Day.
Okay. So yeah, so we made the bet that Isaiah Hodgins, Joe said he would make the 53-man roster, and I'm like, no, it's not happening. And he's like, no, he's making a roster. So we make a bet.
Was that the bet? That was the bet, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And if Hodges didn't make the roster, you had to wear a Cam jersey. At the time, Cam Newton was the starter quarterback for New England Patriots, so you had to wear a Cam jersey. I don't remember what I would have had to do if I had lost that bet, but I just knew I wasn't going to lose it.
Yeah, Cam Newton. Here's my greatest Cam Newton impression. My back just cracked.
You probably needed it. It was probably good for it.
I don't know. I might limp away from. I'm going to be 50 Sunday, so I might limp away from this chair. But yeah, yeah. So I've been thinking about that whole thing because you were like, "Hey, do you want to tee a bet up again?" And I was like, "I don't think so, but I might." And it might be around the same character if that's the case. So, what do we want to bet on total receiving yards for Isaiah Hodgins in 2023?
I take it that you're thinking he's going to have not necessarily a monster year, but a breakout year.
Not a monster.
No,
well,
no, right, but a breakout year, right?
What I mean, was last year a breakout year? I guess is the question, because like he did something that not nobody, but most people didn't expect. Right? He went to the Giants and cemented himself a role at least last season. So I guess it would be a breakout year if he plays the whole season and has a significant role. But that doesn't mean like 1,200 yards. Like that's not what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah. No. For me, so when I look at the situation he's in now, I think he makes the 53 out there. I just don't know if he's developed yet enough for me to feel like he's going to be a top 3 receiver on the team.
So give me a number.
Okay.
And what's the bet?
I mean, this one's tough because this year I actually do think he's going to succeed. Like, so I don't know. It's a little bit different because that year I'm like, no, he's not making it. No, I mean, I watched him last year. I watched him in Dabo's offense. So let's see. Let me look up Isaiah McKenzie's stats from this past year.
McKenzie. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
wait, McKenzie.
For the Bills, the last season, what his stats were. So he had 42 receptions, 423 yards, and 4 touchdowns.
42 receptions. Wow. I didn't realize he had that many.
I didn't either. Like, to me, I swore he only had like 20.
Right.
I'm so happy he's not on this team anymore. Okay. Do you want to, let me stop before I get myself in trouble. So let's set the over under on what Isaiah McKenzie did. So for Hodges this year, I think that's a fair bet, right?
423.
423.
I think, if we could come in around 400, sure. 400, a little under, a little over. So yeah, I'd probably be willing to bite at 423.
Well, what did he do last year? I thought in the last few games, and I get it now. They drafted a few. They drafted a receiver and they brought somebody in, right?
And I think is it Sterling coming back?
Sterling's coming back, yeah. So last season he did with the Giants 351. So I think just depending on how the depth, I think he He could probably take the over on that, but I'll take the under. And then, I'll take the risk on this one.
At 423.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Then what is the bet? And this is where I suck at this, because it's like I don't know what to do to you if you were to lose. Like for me, I already know what you've queued up because I've been on Twitter. So,
well, I haven't actually figured out yet. Well, I think I know where I want to go with it, but I will say my bets when I went, aside from this Cam one, haven't all turned out bad, because what jersey did you have? The punter's jersey. Which punter?
Oh, that's the bet that I lost. I lost that bet too, didn't I?
Yeah.
I did.
So I'm saying, like,
yeah. What the heck was it? Bajorquez.
Boho.
That's right. Boho
Magic.
Yeah. Boho.
So now, and we were like, we went on a run. Every time you wore that jersey, we won. So I just
twice. So literally 9 in a row the first year and 8 in a row the second year.
So I'm just saying, not every time you lose, it's got to be a bad thing. But
except for when you have to put on a Cam Newton jersey, Patriots jersey
across the street,
and there's cameras flashing,
and you're across the street from the Bills Stadium. Like,
you're across the street from the Bills Stadium. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, we could do that though. I'm down for that. I think he'll go over that, but I'll take the under just to make it interesting.
The under 420, so 423 is the number. I think I can live at 423. So then it's about what is the wager? So what do I have to, I don't know, do whatever. So what am I buying, I guess is the question.
No,
what am I buying then burning?
No, I tell you what, this is gonna make it interesting. I have to find it first. If I can find it, then we'll make it happen.
Okay.
I want you to wear a Miami Dolphins Chad Pennington jersey. And there's a reason why I'm saying Chad Pennington, because obviously Pennington is my last name.
Yeah, I know you've always had a man crush on Chad Pennington.
I love Chad. He's like the best, in my opinion, and this is for free for everybody who hasn't watched Chad Pennington. Right. He was the best play action quarterback of that era. Like his hand and footwork when it came to hiding the ball and doing things with, and that might sound like I'm probably being over dramatic with that, but I'm telling you, it was a beautiful thing to watch if you actually cared about that type of stuff. Go ask Cover One, go ask ESP, whoever, I don't know, go ask Dan, or he'll tell you, like, Chad Pennington.
Yeah.
But go ahead. So so that's, if I win, it's going to be a Chad Pennington Miami Dolphins jersey.
I have to wear it.
You have to wear it, and it's going to be your profile picture for the week we play the Dolphins.
But where do I have to wear it to?
I could just come over for dinner.
Oh, okay.
Or we could go out to Bar Bill, you throw it on, and we take a picture. Wherever. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but the profile picture is what it comes down to.
This is the rough part, because like for me, I'm not necessarily sure what to make you. You know what? Let's do this. If he goes over, because I don't think if I lose it's that bad of a deal. I mean, Chad Pennington, I mean, there's some respect on that name, right? So
it's just a Miami jersey. That's what I just want the Pennington. That's
the hard part, right? So I think that problem is I don't want you to have to buy anything, right? So but that's where it gets difficult, because we're always talking about these kind of weird jerseys. So it's like I could go the route of, like, you have to buy a Mackenzie Colts jersey. You should have, if I'm going back and I'm screen capturing that face. That face was amazing.
Yo, I'm in tears. I think you got your bet already. I think I don't think people really understand how much I'm like happy that he's no longer a Buffalo Bill, because I don't talk about it. But listen, that would be a good bet.
This is what we're doing. So that's the bet. And then you have to obviously wear it. And then I don't know. The problem is what happens to these jerseys afterwards. And I'll buy a Pennington jersey and I'll wear it just like you said. That way you don't have to buy the pen. I'll probably give it to you because
I was gonna say I'll buy it anyway, because I was looking. I'll look for a Chad Pennington jersey. So don't worry, I'll buy it.
This is what we'll do. If Hodgins breaks 423, if he breaks, let's say, so 423 is the over under, and if he ends up at 550, I'll buy us both a Hodgins jersey, Giants jersey.
Let's get it.
Right.
And you know him too, so we can get that autographed. Yeah.
Right. For sure. 100%.
They're
going to be in Buffalo this year. So like, he's already told me, like, yeah. So
I think I'm gonna end up buying him one of his jerseys anyway. I love his story. But wait, we're getting off
his story. It's a story.
Yeah, his story is amazing. It really is. So, but we're getting off topic. But yeah, so the bet, everybody, if Hodgins doesn't hit that number, I have to buy and wear a McKenzie Colts jersey. Yo, that's gonna be bad. I gotta
yeah. That's TBD where you're wearing it, but yeah, we gotta figure that out. So
that's fine. But I'd be like that. Oh man. Okay. All right. I'm down.
Oh, I think I got a shot this time.
I'm down. I think you do, because I think he's gonna go over on that. I do. I really do. But I'm willing to take the bet. Let's make it interesting.
You did the one thing I didn't want you to do, which was look up his numbers from last season, because I thought for sure when you saw those, you'd be like, I'm out. Like what?
No, no. But see, because the thing is, if the roster was the same, I would have said heck no. Like
right.
Because they were depleted. So it's like, no, Hodgins came in at the end of the season, got his. So yeah, he was getting targets that I don't think that he's going to get as consistently. I think he's still going to get time. I just don't think he'll get 6-7 targets like that.
Fair. That's
certain moments. So
that's a legitimately fair argument. I would agree. He'll have to prove himself as a valuable commodity in their preseason, just like he did in Buffalo. I think
he can do it.
So yeah,
I think he can do it. But I just think it's a fair bet, so I'll take it.
It's funny because when you look at what he did in training camp, for those that went to training camp last year, Isaiah Hodgins, and what he did in preseason, I don't know how any Bills fan was like surprised when he played well for the Giants. It's like he kind of showed you that he had that little kind of extra thing that he wanted to do. But yeah, so cool. That's a fun bet. So awesome, great.
Yeah. Okay. I can't wait for this one. Okay, so so back to the beginning.
I can't wait for you to go back and watch the replay and see the look on your face.
Yeah, I'm actually download that one and throw that one up on the socials too. But so okay, so it got started. We did the roster prediction, and then Pierre from Buffalo Fanatics reached out to me
immediately.
It was like it was like immediately. We did the show, and then he hit me up and he's like, "Hey man, we think that you could do a pod," and so I kind of jumped on the opportunity there. And listen, I know there's still a ton of people. They don't do pods anymore, right? Like they do the vidcast side.
Disconnected from everything is Joe Miller right now. Yeah.
No, I got you because I've been disconnected from everything, so I'm just getting back plugged in myself. So I feel like I may be wrong, but I feel like Buffalo Fanatics now they don't even do a podcast like you can't find them on Apple Music or I could be wrong.
Only. Vidcast, I'll check.
Right. Okay. So I think they're on Vidcast only, but at the time they did both podcast and Vidcast, and it just turned out to be such an amazing opportunity. They kind of set me up real nice. Actually, they set me up with an interview with Isaiah McKenzie. Funny enough, and that kind of jump started everything that I kind of do now, as far as trying to constantly have someone on to talk with and to interview, or to gain different perspectives on different things that wasn't always just about football. And hey, for that, I tip my hat to those guys. I appreciate them. So shout out to Pierre, shout out to Bobby, shout out to Rico, everybody else who's over there as well. I mean, that's where I met most of you guys too. Sterling was there when I got there. You were there. Yeah, it was. We had a good summer over there, man. It was a good time.
They are dropping limited pods, so they are dropping.
Okay.
Yeah, so not every pod, just some pods, which makes sense. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Buffalo Fanatics, man. When y'all listening for all your Buffalo Bills content, go ahead and check them out. I think they were the first ones, at least that I saw, to drop the news on Josh being on the cover of Madden too. Like they were the first one with the rumor. So big ups to them for that.
Well, they're pretty well connected too. So I mean, it would make sense that they would know. But no, you did great. And then that was where the Hump Day Hotline started. Like that was a fun night, right? So that was the night that so Rico, for some reason, he needed 2 people for his show, and he's like, let's have the 2 new kids come on. So that was you and me. And like even beforehand, he was like kind of giving us a little bit of a pep talk coming on live. And we went on and we did well. And he was like, you guys did great. Most people don't do that well the first time. And I was like, I don't know.
We were just talking
football. And then the Hump Day Hotline started from that right there, like that. And then it kind of took off immediately after that. And that was fun. I actually saw the one picture when the Bills, that was the year the Bills got Cole Beasley, if I'm not mistaken, going into that season. And we had the 8 is enough wide receivers, all the different, like they had 8 wide receivers in camp, which included Hodgins and Gabe Davis and Cole Beasley. Like John Brown was there, like all these guys, and like you and I were the faces of the mom and dad, and then all the receivers. Bobby, I think, made that one. We're all the kids from the TV show 8 is Enough. That was fun.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Bobby has some interesting graphics back then.
Talented.
Yeah, all of those guys, man. So again, shout out to those guys over there. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of how it really got started, and then from there, man, like, I just really can't believe it's been 3 years. So for you, it's been what, 4 now?
Ish, 4.5. Yeah, right. So yeah,
man.
Yeah. So
it just seems like it started, like it just doesn't seem like it's been that long.
So I started at the Ebenezer Ale House meeting between the two of us, because that was shortly after I started, and that was the first time that you and I kind of really connected. I mean, we had connected before, but not like really kind of face to face in a personal level. And I was asking you a bunch of questions about my pod. And I think that was the moment where you were like, and that was early, that was probably 6 months prior to, right? 6 or 7 months prior to. And you were like, I've thought about doing it, but this and that. And even then I was like, you should do it. Why not? Give it a shot, right? You've got a voice and your voice needs to be heard. So give it a whirl. And then, fast forwarding to when we were just chatting, and I was like, you should just come on the show. And you're like, okay.
Literally, I was like, oh, sure, okay.
And then the next thing you know, you're hitting me up in my text saying, Pierre just got hold of me and I got a show. I'm like, wait a minute, it's been 10 minutes. How'd you get a show in 10 minutes?
I was just as shocked, if not more than you, because everybody, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for me, a lot of times when I do something, it's like, okay, that had to suck. and then like once the feedback starts to roll, and it's like, oh, this wasn't an epic failure. This was awesome.
Right.
So just the way after that show, the way everybody was showing love, and then the Bills community, like the Twitter and podcast community and everything, man, it's so tight knit. Like obviously we have our little spats here and there where whatever happens, but for the most part,
there's a measure of ego to do this, right? All of us have a nice little teaspoon or tablespoon of confidence and ego and a little bit of arrogance.
I might have a cup. Just
I was being nice. And
I mean, maybe I might just have like a full gallon of a little beer, because
no one is immune. We'll just put it that way. So you don't do this unless you've got some desire to be heard, right?
Yeah. So. But so for those who ever wondered, that's pretty much the story of how like all of this stuff got started for me. And really even Joe, like he said, because we started that conversation, and then and I believe you were doing it because it was a project that you were going to do for your job at the time, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like you were going to
2 parts. So yes, there was an aspect of I had to do a website transformation off of Squarespace. Not that anybody gives a crap about this. And Squarespace no longer supported podcasts. There was a time when they were giving away that service with a podcast, because that's what they did 20 years ago, and there was like 900 or I don't even know, several hundred that had to remain. So anytime I do something like that in my life, I usually learn like the whole process. I don't just figure out just enough. It's like, well, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get into it. So I got into it, and then it was coupled with the notion or the feeling that I had that and I'm talking about me now, we're supposed to be talking about you, I apologize. Just coupled with the notion that I had that I felt like my voice wasn't being heard. So I was like, well, I'll do this for a couple weeks, whatever, just to figure it out. And it got kind of popular kind of quick. And then it took about 2 months, and Mathis Judge, who was with Fanatics at the time, then he jumped in and he was like, what do you think? And I was like, about what? He's like, join the Fanatics. And that was before I think you and I even went to lunch. I think I was independent when you and I went to lunch. So it was whirlwind a little bit. It's like, oh, all right, that's wild. So yes, sure. Platform, give me a platform. Sure. So
shout out to having eyes for talent, man.
Right. For sure.
Shout out to that.
And now you're doing that. You're in that role. Like you're in that role of discovering people.
And actually, you know what? And I haven't even made any like announcements, but we got a couple new content creators joining us. So Jeremiah Poyer, Jordan Poyer's brother, will be joining the Buffalo Rumblings family. That's nice. He's actually going to be joining to start off. He's going to be joining the Chop Up crew. So when you watch and listen to the Chop Up, you're going to also be hearing from my man Jeremy Poyer. AJ is joining us as well. He's going to be doing AJ Analytics, or is it AJ Analysis? I don't know, but AJ Analytics. I think he's dropping his show actually starting this week, Thursday.
Awesome.
So that's going to be fun. And then I know everybody is already caught up with the Mafia cast. They're going to be starting. They're doing what they're doing, but then as of when the season starts, they'll actually be on the podcast side of things as well. So we're adding some talent, and we're trying to grow the Buffalo Rumblings brand, and man, we're gonna do it.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. And it's Jeremiah's dude. Jerry Strosky says to me often, real recognize real. And I'm sure that he didn't create that statement, but he says that to me often. And Jeremiah and Jordan's dad, and just Jeremiah, like, they hang out at the Bills Mafia house with us before the games, and they're just good people. They're just good people. Right?
Real good people, man. Like, and I know, so like, obviously for me, my relationship with them started because I love Jordan, like, you know, but man, there's times now, like, there are weeks that go by where I'll talk to Jeremy every day and don't even think to talk to Jordan, you know. I don't, or I'll talk to his father, like you mentioned. His family is just top notch, like top to bottom. They're just good people. And so no, I'm excited that Jeremy wants to. I've been asking him to do this now for over a year, so really? I'm happy that now he's at the point where he's like, you know what, I want my voice out there. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be real cool. And so, yeah, look forward to him on the Chop Up, and I'm going to push him to eventually have his own. Like, that's the goal. He wasn't for it right now. He's like, well, let me get my feet wet. Yeah. Okay. I respect it. So, yeah, he'll be with the Chop Up.
I think we had a similar conversation.
We did. We did. 100%. That's exactly what it was. So that's why I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll go for that. I'll respect it. So, awesome. So yeah, and I think, do I have any more announcements before we get into the Bills? Because now it's time to talk football. You know what? Saturday, I'm dropping a special edition code of conduct. I'm gonna have Mina Kimes joining me on the code of conduct for AFC East review. I gotta ask her. I mean, because she's one of the, when I listen to her and I watch her pod and stuff, she's very free with the things that she says. Like, she's one of the few that kind of doesn't care. And so I need to ask her, like, is it for real? Like, is Aaron Rodgers coming over really closing the gap for the Jets? Are the Patriots still gonna suck? Like, what's happening? And I know she's gonna be honest enough to tell us that. So Saturday at noon, it is going to be podcast only. It's not dropping as a vidcast. So head over to Spotify, head over to Apple Music, and download, or wherever you get your podcast from, and check it out, man. I'm excited for it. So let's get into football. It's gonna be cool. On the offense side, I feel like the Bills have either slightly improved or remained the same in every area on offense. I don't know if you agree with that, but I do not feel like we're worse on offense at any position than we were last season. We might be the same or slightly better. How do you feel about the offense? Do you think that we're going to see an improvement for what was the number 2 offense in the league, or are we going to kind of take a step backwards?
I still love what yards per pass, the handle at yards per pass, said on Twitter somewhere around week 13, where they were like, you know, this Bills offense is incredibly, just, he said, maddening and surprising. And then he followed it up with, just when you think they're about as trash as they could be, you look up at the scoreboard, they've scored 32 points. And you're like, how did we get here? This offense definitely doesn't hum, or didn't hum in 2022 the way that it did in the COVID year 2020, when they were just, Allen was a machine and they were hitting guys all over the field and people were wide open all the time. Did we get better is the question. You know, we could be wildly better if Gabe Davis doesn't drop 50% of his passes. So we can start right there. So with an expectation that Gabe Davis is healthy this year, because like there's people talking about, I think Bean said it right. Well, Gabe was hurt, yada, yada. Well, okay. So if we can expect him to catch 25 more balls this year, that's going to be a pretty big deal from Gabe Davis. But I think there was a specific message sent by Brandon Bean in the draft to this roster, which effectively was catch the football by going out and getting Shorter, who barely dropped any passes in college, and then obviously getting Dalton Kincaid, who also barely dropped any passes. I can't remember who said it. I don't remember if it was on the radio or if it was just on a pod short that I listened to that was posted on Twitter, but somebody said that the reason that the Bills struggled last year as bad as they did was because they expected to run 12 personnel with OJ Howard. And when OJ Howard didn't look the way that they wanted him to look in camp and they cut him loose, it was almost like a scramble dash. Like, what are we going to do now? So there's an aspect that if Dorsey wants to run 12 personnel with Dalton Kincaid in there, and he's effectively going to play that slot position, and he can work the field the way that we hope that he can, and you don't know how much of an effect a rookie is going to make. You can never count out Josh Allen, right? I think the running game is going to be better with Damian Harris. I think James Cook is ready. I think you and I have talked about this. Like James Cook, the last 6 games did not look like James Cook the first 6 games. The last 6 games, he was very much, there were moments he was patient and kind of like waiting and setting up blocks and stuff the way that I'm going to use a name, and it's not a great comparison, but it just reminded me when I have a picture in my head, I think of early Le'Veon Bell, the way that he would just kind of stand up with the ball and kind of like shuttle to his right or his left, and then he would take off. And that's kind of what I felt like I was beginning to see from James Cook. Now he's wildly a different body type. So that's not what I'm saying. They're not the same player. I'm just saying like that was just kind of what I felt. All that long answer, bro. And I'm sorry. I think they're going to be better this year than they were last year. Dorsey with another year. I think they're going to run the personnel that Dorsey wants to run. I think there's going to be, a more of a reliance on the run game that could be effective. So yes, but I would love to hear your thoughts as I just covered all of them. Sorry.
Well, no,
I haven't talked in a long time, so this is
that's why it's perfect. That's why I'm like, let me be the first to have Joe back on, so that way I don't have to say much when it comes to this football, because I haven't been plugged in either, honestly. But I agree with you. I love the Kincaid pick. I think so obviously I don't watch much college football.
Neither.
But there are certain guys that kind of they end up on your radar because they are like the cream of the crop for their position. And from everything that I understood, he was probably a top 3 or top 2 tight end in his draft. So for him to fall where he did, and I hate comparisons a lot of times when it comes to guys who have never played a snap in the NFL.
Right.
But all the comparisons are like the Buffalo Bills just drafted their version of Travis Kelce.
Right.
The Buffalo Bills just drafted the best pass catcher in the draft.
Pass catching receiver.
Pass catching receiver in the draft. So to me, that's already an improvement. Now, I was rough last year on Davis. We know that. I'm gonna be rough until he stops dropping passes. But if some of those passes are now with a tight end who we know is going to catch the ball most of the time. If Dawson Knox is who he was the second half of the year and in the playoffs, like playoff Dawson Knox, that Dolphins game, if you give me that guy every week, I promise you, we wouldn't even have had to draft Kincaid if you give me that guy every single week. But I like the fact that I feel like now the tight end position with Kincaid is going to kind of replace the Cole Beasley role that we had, because Isaiah McKenzie, and Isaiah McKenzie is actually the next topic as well. But he was basically given the Cole Beasley role.
Yep.
And I wasn't happy about it. Like now I know I kind of publicly I wanted them to extend Lil Dirty. I'm like, I don't know if you remember that. I posted this thing like give him the bag or upgrade his bag.
Yep.
And the reason is because when the year that we used him in the offense as like a gadget player where he was like doing these jet sweeps and he was just all these misdirections and just fancy plays that Brian Daboll had drawn up for us. He seemed to be like this dangerous weapon that if you plugged him in these certain places, it was just such a mismatch for certain teams. We haven't seen that. The last year that Daboll was here, we didn't see it. This last season, we didn't see it. So I don't know. So for me, I think the combination of not really replacing Beasley, and it could be Howard. I don't know. I feel like before Howard got here, we knew who Howard was.
It was more about expectation, and when the Bills picked him up, I said, I mean, you've heard me say it. A ruptured Achilles tendon is a career ender. I mean, it's just most guys don't ever return to form. They just don't. So, and that's what he had. Right. So.
But that's why when I look at it, it's like we knew who he was even before he had that injury. He was good, very athletic. He was good.
But I think
he wasn't like
I think he was meant to block, and then Dawson was meant to be that pass catcher.
no. But they're both OJ Howard was like one of the most athletic. The way they used to the expectations for this guy, and I'm not saying this is what the Buffalo Bills expected, but early on in his career, he was like supposed to be what like Njoku is, and like this freak of an athlete at tight end that. And it just hasn't been that for his career. So to me, when it's like, okay, we're going to sign him, pair him with Knox, and run some 12. I'm going to run 12 personnel with OJ Howard. You get what I mean? So it's like, and that's not a shot at him. Like, he's a professional athlete. I'm not. And I'm sitting here talking about professional athletes. But the point that I'm saying is, it's like, when I hear that excuse, like, it didn't work out because they were going to run that with it's like, really, we knew who he was, and that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
So to me, I was just more disappointed. I feel like we still had the right recipe last year. I just feel like we got away from it. I watched the entire season since the season was over. I've watched it maybe 3 times now.
Even the losses.
No,
you didn't skip a game. Didn't skip a game.
I didn't skip a game. I watched every single one.
There's still a couple losses I haven't watched back yet. I'm like, I can't.
Well, you know what? There's some good stuff in the losses. They're really in. There's some plays that I feel like I can speak on a couple of them. Like, there's that first Jets game. There's some plays in there.
There was only one good play in that whole game. It was the pass to Diggs.
Well, there's one good play that like it ended up being good. I'm saying, like, there's some plays that when you watch it, you can recognize that Ken Dorsey is a very good. He's a very good play caller.
Yeah.
And like the execution of things. I hate coach talk, so I hate when they're like, we got to execute better. But then when you go back and watch, it's just like, oh, he really dropped his 3rd and 3 pass when he and I'm not even talking about Davis on this one, but I mean, like, there's certain moments in all of these games where it's like, oh, if he would have just caught that, it was a well-designed play. And then the Vikings game, man, everybody knows how much I love, and I'm gonna miss Tremaine. But if you could just, like, when you watch that game and you look at the difference between the first half to the second half when Tremaine went out, it was almost like we completely lost. Like, it was almost like we knew we were gonna lose the game when Tremaine got injured, because second half we just weren't the same team. And the Bengals game, that one probably hurt the most to watch because it just felt like we were uninspired. But again, what I'm saying is, it's like, overall, when you go back and watch it, Dorsey fully has, like, I co-sign him, period. Now, like, you're not going to hear me hate on him. He's a very good play caller. Execution has to be better. I think that we got better players in certain areas. Offensive line. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I think overall, even if it's only by a step, like one step, I think that we're better in at the running back position. You just mentioned James Cook. I think he can be like the guy, but I love the Harris pickup. I love really
the expansion of Brandon Bean's role, right?
I just think Brandon Bean did a heck of a job. And I feel like we're gonna have a seasoned vet on our practice squad. Whether I don't know,
Latavius Murray.
Yeah. So I mean, and I'm just saying, I don't know if that's gonna work the way we plan for it to. Somebody might pick him up after cut down day or something, but I think Brandon Bean, if any year has shown me that he knows what he's doing, and he's done that quite a bit for us. I think this year, with minimal funding, and then on defense, you figure you go out and you're still able to sign these guys. So we signed one of the top pass rushers in free agency,
Malcolm Floyd,
which is crazy to think that we could do with no money. We brought back Jordan. We lose Tremaine, but then other than losing Tremaine,
Poona Ford.
Come on, man. You know what I mean? So, like, I feel like we got better.
The biggest question, and there's rumors, there's conversations being had that Tre'Davious White looks like he's back to form, which is huge. But the biggest question mark is going to be linebacker. Who is going to play? Who's going to take that, Tremaine Edmonds' role? And the question is do they change? Do they go to a traditional 4-3 with 3 linebackers and actually have a traditional Mike linebacker to kind of make up for we don't have the flexibility, the ability to do that nickel 4-2? Which, I'll be honest with you, the thing that I need to see most out of this football team is game planning and strategy week to week, because I know they watch film. I know they watch whatever it is, Sunday to Monday, they watch the game they just played. And I know that they watch film on their opponents. I know that they do these things. When you talk about and I'm going somewhere with this defensively. When you talk about Bill Belichick and the great head coaches, Bill Belichick, he's going to take what you do best away from you and make you work right off of your second best or your third best. And the Bills largely in a lot of games did not do that on offense or defense. They were just like, we're good enough to beat you and we're going to beat you. And if anybody wants an example, and you and I have probably talked about this before, and I'm going to say it again, the 49ers took Miami went to San Francisco and played the Niners, and they just about shut Tua down by rushing him and giving him zero time and basically blanketing his receivers. They lost that game. Then the Dolphins go to the Chargers, and the Chargers made him look stupid. Like literally, he was dropping back and throwing the ball to open green spaces on the field, hoping somebody would get there because he had no time and his receivers were covered. The only positive play they had was a fumble that Tyreek Hill picked up, ran around the pile, and ran for a touchdown. They go in and play the Buffalo Bills the very next week, and they put 32 points on us because we ran a nickel 4-2 and played off coverage. And I'm done with that. Like, that's defensively, I need to see a game plan. I need to see look, we're trying to beat these guys, and we've studied, and we have a game plan to beat them that isn't us just rolling our best 11 out there. So we'll see what Sean McDermott does. To me, it's linebacker for this defense, and it's Sean McDermott. How does he call these plays? How does he prep this team? And what do we do in the linebacker?
I can't fight you there. Like, and I'm a huge McDermott fan, and I'm very excited about him calling the plays this year.
Me too.
But I can't fight you on seeing, well, what is he going to do? Because at this point now, there's no scapegoat.
Right.
And I say that to say because a lot of the time, 13 seconds, a lot of people blame Leslie Frazier, which they should. He was the defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator calls the plays, and the play that was called, they just let the Chiefs go down the field. We don't have to relive it. Yeah. But so I get that. But to me, and I've been saying this since then, and I know you remember because on Hump Day we went off about it.
Oh yeah.
You blame the head coach. Like at this point, there's no buffer for him. He's gonna take all of the criticism for when the defense fails. When the defense, like if Jerry was still working, Jerry would ask him if he was embarrassed after losing against the Patriots instead of asking Jordan it.
I blame Sean McDermott on 13 seconds because it happened twice, right? So it happened the first time, and it's like, okay, and they called timeout before each play. And the second time, they're lining up the same way. And to me, that's the moment where if you're the head coach, you're losing your mind, or somebody is paying for it when it's over. Right?
I blamed him from the first time. Like I get it. I get that it happened twice, but because I mean, if you think about it, that year, I think if any year, man, that was the year. That I feel like the team that we put out on the field was supposed to win it all. Like every year you got a chance with Josh Allen, but we were supposed to win it that year. So, and then to your point about the nickel, like the traditional 4-2, I think honestly, I wrote an article for us Buffalo Rumblings a couple weeks ago, and I talked about how I'm excited because I truly think that the Buffalo Bills brought in Tyler Rapp to kind of change philosophy. You don't lose a player like Tremaine Edmonds, even though I know Bills fans beat me up because they don't think he's as good as I do. You don't lose a player as good as Tremaine Edmonds and try to be the same. You change your philosophy. So at this point, I feel like they're going to roll out like a 4-1-6 type deal where you're going to have the Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Trey White, hopefully Kyer Elam, Tyler Rapp, and Johnson.
It's like an umbrella coverage, coverage.
And because when you think about it, Teron Johnson is good in the run support. So is Jordan and Micah. So I think what they're going to, and I could be completely wrong, but I think you beef up the line by going to get a forward. I think you beef up the line and get those guys like that. And I wouldn't even be shocked to see Ed be on the edge a little bit because which I think they should try to figure out how to do. But I think you beef up that defensive line to help be good against the run. And I think you have some run support with those safeties and with Teron Johnson. And then I think I think so. I don't know. I'm excited to see what it is. And we're playing against a lot of quarterbacks this year that's slinging the ball. So I really do. I think that we're going to completely change what we're looking at. I know I had some negative comments on the article, like this is dumb. This will never happen. But I'm telling you, watch, you're going to see several times this year where you're going to see it's going to look like a dime package in a way, but it's going to be an extra defensive back there. Like you're gonna watch, mark my words, because Tyler Rapp, he's a starting caliber safety.
Yes, the interesting thing is going to be Ed Oliver, because Ed Oliver is now going to play alongside, regardless of who he's playing with, the best group of defensive tackles out like this team has ever had in Daquan Jones, Tim Settle, Poona Ford, Jordan Phillips. Like anybody he's standing next to is going to be worth their salt, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how that whole conversation goes. There's also going to be a little bit of a log jam when you talk about edge guys, Boogie Basham, AJ Epinesa. Is somebody going to get moved before the season? Who are they going to be surprised? We say it every time this time of year comes around. We're like, they can't keep all these guys. They can't keep all these defensive linemen, and they do.
Well, you know what? Sarah and I were talking about that because she and Jerry on her show, when they on the Line to Gain, they did like a way too early roster projection.
Yeah.
And so I'm this because I sometimes I try not to jump in the comments when I'm watching everybody's show. So I'll shoot a text, and then when you're done, then it's like, okay, you can say something back. So like during the show, they said that Saran Neal was like on the kind of like on the outside looking in, and I'm like, there's no way they're cutting Saran Neal. Like Saran Neal is a lock for this team.
Yeah,
and
teams especially.
Well, no, and she didn't. So that's how I took it. She ended up not correcting it, but she ended up correcting me and saying like, no, I'm saying like these guys are going to make the team for sure, but then like who's going to make it out of this group of guys who was color coded a certain way. So, but I just feel like Saran Neal was a lot. But I feel like, we got to probably schedule another one of these, whether it's here or if we do a hump day or something, and then because we typically do our roster projections too, and that's actually is getting there. We're about to report to camp soon, so we gotta.
Don't wish my summer away.
No, I'm not. That's why I said soon. So I figure like mid next month. I know Bruce and I are gonna do every season now. We do the quarterback rankings going into the season, so I got that show coming up. So you and I have to do our roster projections and then figure it out. But I don't know. I think we're better on both sides of the ball. But I guess I get confused when I jump on Twitter. And I see they're not all Bills fans, but there's a good portion who feel like we didn't do enough to improve this year. When really this year, I feel like the gap was already kind of big in our division. So like we improved from who we were, and yeah, other teams improved. But are you really scared? And honest question: are you really scared of Aaron Rodgers joining the Jets?
I mean, yes, they have weapons and they've got a phenomenal defense. They beat us once last year, regardless of if it was because we didn't execute or what. The reality is he's going to be better than Zach Wilson was, right? So, you just never know, and you fall back to anytime teams have tried to build a quote unquote super team, it doesn't work out. So, scared. Am I concerned? I might be less concerned after week 1. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I'm going to say before week 1, even if we lose that game, I'm not worried. Just like when we lost to the Dolphins last year early in the season, and that was their Super Bowl. And you had, shout out to my man Smoke, but you had Smokey running around screaming his head off because the Miami Dolphins won the Super Bowl in week 3. So even if we lose week 1, I can't see myself being scared. Like, now I know Green Bay fans will tell you Aaron Rodgers had a beat up thumb last year. He couldn't really grip the ball well, is what everybody's saying. But I saw Aaron Rodgers last year. I get it. I saw him 2 years prior to that too, as the 2-time defending MVP. But I don't know. I saw Aaron Rodgers last year, and he just wasn't that impressive to me.
This is an interesting flip for you because you have always been
I love Aaron Rodgers
fan. That regardless of how good Josh Allen played or whoever else, Aaron Rodgers is the man. The guy.
I love it. So when I'm saying this is 100% me like trying to be honest about things and not just let my bias take over. Because there were times before Josh got like this version of Josh, before the COVID year, I was like, man, I trade my entire roster for a couple years of Aaron Rodgers. So like I love Aaron Rodgers that much, but I just don't. I think at this point and then I don't even think he's focused right now, man. Like he's enjoying New York City, which he should. He's been in Green Bay for 2 decades.
Easy.
But he's enjoying life. So go do your thing. But I just don't see him. But I guess on one hand, I have other friends saying like, hey, he's motivated now because he's going to want to prove Green Bay was wrong.
For how long though? How long does that motivation stick? Right. That's the question. For me, it's more about completing passes. He's going to put the ball where it needs to be. So we'll see. He will. But I also think that the players that they ended up signing because of him diluted their offense. I think if you look at their offense the way it was last year, if you would have inserted a healthy Aaron Rodgers as opposed to Zach Wilson, I think that team would have been fine. You add Allen Lazard, that's good. I think Lazard is a good player,
But then when you go and you got to add Randall Cobb, and then you're adding like you're going to push somebody off the roster who actually deserves to ball out with somebody the caliber of Aaron Rodgers. So I think in a way, yeah, signing him is better. But now I think you're going to have like maybe two or three roster positions that are going to kind of be wasted.
Right.
And wasted. That's a rough thing to say, but
no, that's the right way to say it. I mean, if even if they keep Randall Cobb as a kind of a veteran coach to make Aaron Rodgers feel comfortable, right? That's a depth player, and Isaiah Hodgins, who isn't there.
Mm-hmm. That's really what happened with the Bills last year.
Right.
Exactly that.
Right.
So you're going to waste a roster spot, and so okay, we only got a few minutes left, so let's do it. Because
are we going to go over? Are we going to go over again?
No, we're gonna make this. We're gonna do this quick. We're gonna do this quick. So because we already talked about the defense, we talked about the offense. We did. So last year we ended up keeping Isaiah McKenzie for the full season. We ended up keeping Kumaro. We kept certain players that didn't necessarily. We thought Isaiah McKenzie was going to be a big producer in this offense. He had 423 yards.
Right.
And I was going to prepare some clips for this. I'm glad I didn't. I've sent you some clips in the past, so you've gotten them. So, but we've seen so many things where he wasn't a major contributor. Is that what's going to happen in New York? But then the question for Buffalo was more so like, did we improve on our replacement for him? Obviously, I think that we did.
I think it's just more about what are the Bills. So the Bills lived in a space for Josh Allen where he had his fuzzy blanket, his fuzzy, warm, cuddly blanket was, Cole Beasley over the middle who could get open no matter what. And that 3 yards was there always. And as much as that pissed off Bills fans and he only gets 3 yards, then he falls down, still 3 yards, still 4 yards. And it's something the defense has to worry about. And you saw what happened when the defense didn't have to worry about it. The question is, they lived with it for 2 years. They lived without it last year. Are they going to be able to pivot and find something to give Josh Allen that outlet, right? And I think part of what hurt the Bills last year was they didn't have the Beasley role, and he wasn't running the way that he had run in the past. So I think Dalton Kincaid changes that for them. I think that Hardy kid is going to be good. I don't know much about him, but the work that you've done kind of researching him and the things that I hear other people say just here and there, I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's shown some stuff in the past when he wasn't injured. Had they improved, I would say this, if and I'm going to repeat what you said, sort of. If they kept McKenzie in a gadget role, he's effective and an important piece of this offense. McKenzie in a stand at the line of scrimmage in the slot is not an effective piece to this offense, right? So yes, by removing him, I agree with you. They've gotten better.
In that role, you're right. He was, because I said that too, and I agree. Like, he was very effective, but I don't know if it's even just that anymore, because you expect players to develop a little bit more. And I didn't expect him to be Cole Beasley, or I didn't expect him to develop into a top 5 slot receiver.
Right.
I get that, but man, like, dude, the Vikings game, Joe, you remember the interception where Josh, not in overtime, not to end the game.
Not Patrick Pete. That was his arm brace that did that one, but yeah.
Not that one.
Yeah.
The one I think it was like the third or early in the fourth quarter, Josh scrambles out to his right. Isaiah McKenzie was being covered actually by Peterson. Peterson got the interception.
Yes, I know. Yep.
Isaiah McKenzie literally walked out of bounds and stood there
and watched
with his hands on his hips and watched the play happen. And when Peterson intercepted the ball and ran it back 35 yards,
he just stood there.
McKenzie still stood there as a spectator on the sideline.
Yeah, walked himself out of bounds is the key thing. Like, the play was over. I just ran out of bounds, and then turns around. Peterson catches the football and takes off.
Gone.
Yep.
Gone.
And Isaiah was like, "Oh, wait. Am I supposed to change him?"
Man.
But hey, locker room karaoke the next Wednesday was the important thing. So
all day. And then okay, I'm not gonna, because
you're gonna love that jersey. I'm gonna love it.
You know what really, what was the end for me with him though? Like, because I I loved him as a personality. And I still do. I think he's good for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Spent some time there, second home, well, third now because I consider Phoenix home. So,
Sure.
But after, I forget, was it the Miami game or I forget which game it was, but he did one of his shows with Ty. And when he did his show with Ty, and on the show, he was being sarcastic about the fans criticizing him for dropping the pass. And he's like, yeah, we're going to do wet ball drills. So any fan that comes to the podcast that can do properly, will pay for your wings. It's like something like that. And it's like, are you kidding? I'm going to find the tweet and I'm going to send it to you.
Do I get to wear the sticky gloves too? The old
right.
sticky gloves?
Like, come on, man. And like you're a professional player.
This is what you do.
This is what you do. Like, why are you trying to clap back at fans for saying you should catch the ball? Are you not a wide receiver? Like, Is that not what a wide receiver? Doesn't a wide receiver catch the ball
with sticky gloves?
With sticky gloves. Like, come on, man. Like, so for me, that was when, for me as a fan, it was just like, okay, McKenzie gets to go next season. So,
yeah, he gone.
That's what it was for me. So, but anyway. So I feel like we're obviously cutting this short because we could go on and talk Bills forever. So yeah, so we'll get back to planning at some point soon. I feel like either kind of mid to end of July we can jump back on for Hump Day and then get going into the swing of things for August and back into the season. Indeed. We will have some scheduling changes too coming up for the season that will be announced soon. Heartbreaks. Can I announce this yet or should I not?
Not yet.
Okay, I won't announce it yet. And that wasn't a heartbreak like he's leaving. Joe ain't going no place. So don't think so. Yeah, so don't take that and run with it. He ain't going nowhere. Yeah, no. But okay, so I want to announce Fina.
Immediately they're like, what about Fina? Fina's
nobody. Ain't nobody going nowhere.
Fina's doing his damn hardest to get Long Drink to sponsor our show. I'm like, Fina, you're giving them free advertising. He's like, I hope they get the message. I'm like, they're getting it.
We start clipping that and putting it on social.
Mm-hmm.
Start clipping it and putting it on social. We'll get a scene, but we'll get out of here. Listen, y'all know how we do it with the code of conduct. I love y'all, and I want y'all to love each other, take care of each other, and live in peace. And as always, stay positive, test negative. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Code of conduct.